Hey everyone, welcome to the recap of the Walking Dead universe. We are here live every week to discuss the latest episode. You can catch our recaps at any time, available on most major podcast platforms. Get new and past episodes for free in the app of your choice, including YouTube. Today we are covering The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 6, the finale. Maybe the last episode ever? Maybe not. I guess we'll see. For those of you joining us live tonight, thanks for taking time out of your evening to be here. I'm your host, Tamara, and I love a good TV show and a good book. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can find me pretty much everywhere at the Recap Pods. And if you're into books, you can also find me at Shelf Addiction. Joining me today is show co host Lisa. Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, Tamara. Hey, everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm an author. I'm also the founder of Indies United Publishing House, and I love all things pop culture. So if you would like to connect with me online, you can pretty much find me everywhere at Lisa Orban Author or at Indies United Pub.
Okay, so before we get started, we would love your participation in this conversation. So if you are listening live on YouTube, hit us up in the comments section. If you're catching this on a replay, you can still comment on YouTube or on Spotify, or even leave us a voicemail using the Speak Pipe link in the show notes. If you're new to the podcast, we are laid back in our review style, right, Lisa?
Absolutely, Tamara. This is a conversation, not a dissertation.
Right. No scene by scene breakdowns here. We jump around a lot. And of course, huge spoiler alert for everything, basically every show in the world through yesterday's episode. So if you're cool with that, this is a place for you. And we should jump right into it. The finale. Lisa, what did you think?
I was satisfied.
That is exactly the word I used. Literally. I said, I'm satisfied with that. It was okay. I am very close to saying it was good, but it was the worst episode of the 6.
You think so?
I do.
Okay.
Only because, so here's the thing. I loved the last scene, right? The whole thing that we all wanted, we got, right? The
Oh,
point
yeah.
of this was that he went home to his family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that happened. And so that was a happy scene and emotional and all good stuff. Things that I thought would happen happened, like I knew basically everybody was going to die. That's the
Yeah.
only way to get out of this. But I
Well, we did say that all the upper command would have to die for them to stop what was going on.
yes, and that they did.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, after some contemplation, I feel like there were some things that could have been fleshed out a little more. I felt the episode was a little rushed, and I think they could have used the extra 15 minutes.
Probably. I wasn't disappointed in this. All
Mm-hmm.
right. It did feel a little bare at certain points,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time they didn't drag anything either.
Yes.
So, I'm going to give them that.
Yes. They kept
They,
the plot tight as they have been doing this whole season,
mm-hmm.
which I
So,
like. I
right.
like it, but also, I don't know, I just felt like and when I first finished the episode, I was really happy with it. And
Mm-hmm.
only after it sat with me for a day did I start thinking about how I have not gone back and watched it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually do. So I'm like, okay, why am I not like as hyped as I was on some of the other episodes? Let me get into this, right? And that's what it was. I just think some stuff didn't make sense to me, but I tried to not nitpick it to death. Like the scene where Michonne goes into that little theater and
Mm-hmm.
they're showing the video of the kids and stuff. And I'm like, it's dark in there. Why does everyone have a helmet on? Like those little things. I'm like, that's weird, right?
It is. Um, I'm not gonna lie and say it isn't. Uh, then again, I mean, I guess these are the dedicated. I don't know. Maybe they feel that they don't want anyone to see what they're really looking like.
See, and I just thought they did that to make it easy for Michonne not to be found out and they don't have to address it. If everyone has the mask on, it's easy, quick.
Right. And I'm sure that's exactly what it was.
Mhm.
So, like I said, I mean, there were some things that I felt like I wish they had addressed a little bit more. But overall, considering the constraints, I think they did a good job. They
Mhm.
probably could have used an extra 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I don't think that this needed a whole extra episode.
No, I wouldn't go that far either. Just a little more.
Yeah, so because we got a something. Uh,
Mhm.
we have an end to the CRM. The civilian government went, okay, we didn't know you were doing this, and this ain't right.
Well, the CRM and all their assets still exist. It's just they're not making their own decisions anymore.
Right. And Michonne and Rick pretty much blew up almost all the upper echelon.
Mhm.
Everyone that has um not Eldritch, the briefing.
Right.
So everyone that had the briefing was pretty much wiped out.
Mhm.
There might be a few here or there, but they were concentrated there because they were getting ready to go after Portland.
Right.
There was a part of me that kind of wanted to go back to the last episode of The World Beyond,
Mhm.
because I swear to God, at the end of that, Portland did fall.
Okay, I also thought about that. I know they made it to Portland, but I was really trying hard to remember what the hell happened at the end of that show, and I couldn't.
I
And
know.
I I I remember some kind of something with Jadis, wasn't
Yeah,
it? But
it was. Jadis was there.
uh,
And like I said, I kind of thought about it last night, and then I'm like, I don't really want to watch it, and I'm not even sure if you can watch all the episodes right now on AMC.
mhm.
I'm like, I don't want to go digging around for this, but I swear to God, at the end of that was one of the things that had horrified everyone else, was that Portland had fallen too.
Now, see, I wasn't sure if it wasn't the whole town, but I know it was that one base, right? Like that
Yeah,
one base. Now it's kinda coming to me a little bit. Like, they knew they were doing the stuff with they were doing the test on people
and
and
the
they were
kids and
right. So I know that it was the base situation, but I don't think all of Portland was brought down. I don't think
yeah. Well,
because they
and
couldn't
like
have,
because like I said, I do remember that they'd already started pulling some of the kids. Remember that?
which is another plot hole for me
Yeah.
because when they were showing the kids on the screen, I'm like, "Okay, so we already been told that you guys don't want free thinkers and leaders."
Mm-hmm.
But from that other show, it seemed like they were pulling the smart kids.
They were. I mean,
So,
I think what they were looking for a certain kind of smart. Um, there are different levels of. I mean, you can be brilliant but myopic,
yeah, that's true.
and I think that's what they were kind of looking for: brilliant but myopic. So they could really do a lot of things that they were, that they need to do to continue to, excuse me, build civilization,
Mhm.
but they don't really look up and go, I know I can do this. I don't know if I should do this.
Okay, that's fair. But then I thought, like, it's the smart kids that are sometimes, not all the time. I'm not trying to say everybody, but sometimes it seems like they question more and ask why. Well, why this? Yeah, it's like understanding certain things in school. Like some people can't understand it until they know the why, right? Why?
Right. Well, and that's part of the
So,
reason why the two sisters were bumped out because they wanted to know the whys of things.
mhm,
Brilliant. Both of them brilliant. Asked too many questions. Now, when they fell in with those other kids that had been already pulled from Portland, none of them were asking why.
mhm,
They were just happy. They had new toys to play with and they were happy to be there and they weren't asking any questions.
yeah,
So, and that was the biggest difference between the two girls and all the other kids they had pulled was again brilliant but myopic because all they really cared about was they were being taken care of. They had the really cool toys and they were getting their intellectual needs met. They weren't questioning why they were being asked to do these things.
mhm. So
And
what about Beal's son? Wasn't his son there?
uh-huh.
So did they get him? I don't remember what happened to him. Did they
I,
take
I
him
think
out?
he I think he died.
Did he?
I don't know. I don't remember. That's why I
Oh,
said I thought about going back and watching the last episode, but I don't remember and I don't know. I just didn't feel like it.
I kind of just wish like and supposedly this show catches us up time-wise, right?
Mhm.
So being that Jadis was in World Beyond, I kind of would like to know like so that must have just coincided with this, but the fact that she went off on her own to find Rick and Michonne later kind of messes with the timeline, I think. You start
Yeah,
thinking about
except
it
she
too
was on
hard.
a she did say that she had to leave for another mission.
Yeah,
Re-
which is
Remember
maybe that.
maybe that.
I
That's my
don't know.
guess
Her
anyway.
character comes and goes whenever.
Right. She's cat-like.
Yeah.
So, but I think they were really priming us for this though because even in the very beginning, those beginning scenes, it was them together and apart. And
Mhm.
if it's not us, who?
Mhm.
This is what we do. This is who we are. And they
Right.
were committing that to each other. Come hell or high water, they were going to see this through.
Mhm.
Now, initially, it was just stop Beale and get the papers. And but as soon as Michonne saw that, we're going to go steal the kids. We're going to take about 10% of them. We're going to kill everyone else. Um, yeah, Michonne's like, no.
Yeah, she's a mother. She's like a person who has like a conscience about things. She would never let that go.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but speaking of the papers, another strange thing, and I mean, okay, so in the moment when I was watching it, it didn't bother me fully that she was just tearing them up. But then I said, well, are you gonna try to destroy them or just tear them up? Because
I was wondering why she just didn't put them underwater.
yeah, or, throw them in the bathtub or a sink or something, or
Yeah.
in the toilet. I don't know.
Because
Um,
well, you wouldn't want to put them in the toilet because you wouldn't want them to stop anything up, and you obviously didn't want to set them on fire because you didn't want to bring attention to yourself. But I knew there was a sink in that room.
yeah,
Um,
whatever it is, just get it wet so people can't read it.
exactly.
So
And instead she
I
just
don't
shoved
know.
them in her pockets.
Seemed weird.
But I mean, I guess high stress situation, you're not always thinking completely coherently.
And
And
actually, that it was funny that scene itself when she walked in the room and saw like how much shit was everywhere. Basically,
yeah,
like the look on her face. I'm like, oh god, just breathe. You can find it. Just breathe. It's like, oh my god, she's getting frustrated.
I know.
Yeah,
I gotta tell you, my first thought is in her situation, I almost would have gone. I'm just setting everything on fire.
yeah,
because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying. Because with all those oil paintings and all the pictures and the paper and everything, it would have gone up, you
So,
know.
okay, so this just popped in my head right now. So Jadis's place is on the main base, or was it on the new base that they just built?
Then I'm gonna go with the new base they built.
Okay, because I'm like, it had to been, but I was like, again, like little details that are missing
Mm-hmm.
of when people move to that base. But then again, I try to remember, like, I guess technically it doesn't matter to the bigger story. It doesn't matter.
Right. No, because I think Jadis did say earlier in the episode, or not episode, but earlier in the season, about her moving there.
She did? Okay, because I don't remember.
I think she did. Or I mean, it was one of those throwaway sentences.
Mhm.
But she was talking to Rick about that.
Okay. I'll take your word for it because I don't remember at all. But okay, that makes sense now. Because 'cause I'm like, "Wait a minute. They went to the same place. When did she move there?"
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's the base that Rick built.
yeah, exactly. Because that's where all the, higher up people were supposed to be, and that's
Hmm.
where they wanted to make their move from,
Yeah.
away from everywhere else, which is why I said originally they still have all the other CRM assets, which we saw at the end as they were like, had choppers taking things to people, right?
Right.
Flying overhead. So
Hmm.
all the assets weren't lost. Just
Right.
what was at that new base was lost.
Exactly. And again, they might have one or two holdouts here or there, but
Mhm.
with Beale gone and the majority of the elite troops gone, um, and I'm pretty sure he had gathered almost all of them so that they could go after Portland.
Mhm.
So, they may he may have left one or two here or there, but once what they were doing was actually exposed to the civilian government, and the civilian government found out that they were, on the chopping block, literally,
Yeah.
uh, weren't feeling too kindly to what the CRM was doing.
No, I mean, I guess also we got to see that end and also know that, that part was pretty much disrupted completely by them
Hmm.
giving us that in a new story,
Yeah.
which again, I've heard other people say they wanted to see, but I'm like, technically, we didn't really have to. We didn't have to see. We
No,
heard.
no, because I mean, the news story concisely gave us what
Hmm.
happened. I mean, and again, if to walk through that, Rick and Michonne going up and giving them the information and and the hearings and the aghast and yada yada yada. I mean, that would have been another whole episode.
Right. And they trimmed the fat. They trimmed it down. Like there was really like we did a lot of jumps and I know they had a lot of like flashes to like past
Hmm.
episodes in the history of The Walking Dead that
Yeah.
kind of like helped kind of gel things together a little bit. But I don't know. There was just I feel like you said satisfied. I think the fans were overall satisfied.
Hmm.
Yes, we could probably nitpick a lot of different things, but it was a good end, I think.
And the thing of it was is it was an end.
Mhm.
I don't Watching that ending, I don't think that they're going to bring this back for a second season. There's no reason to bring this back for a second season. The
I agree. But
Rick and Michonne came back together, and at the very end, we got to see them with their kids,
yes, I
and
agree,
that was the arc. She left and she brought him home.
which was the whole point of this show in itself.
Exactly.
They
Mission
satisfied the promise,
accomplished.
right? Right.
And it wasn't and it wasn't a cop out thing where the kids were on the radio. Oh, the Brave Band's coming home, and that's it. I mean, we actually got a reunion. We got to see how much RJ has grown.
I mean, Judith too, she
And
looks
Judith,
older.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
she's older.
oh yeah, the two of them. I mean, you can see because she was little. I mean, not little, but I mean, she was still prepubescent
Yeah.
So, you know, so we know, and I'm pretty sure at this point, the message that Carol partially heard was Rick coming home.
Yeah, it
Rick's
seems like
home.
it. Yeah.
That's going to be my guess. Rick is home when she comes back.
So, okay, so I like we're in agreement. It seems like an end. It feels like an end. It should be the end of this particular story.
Exactly.
But I've been seeing today some other creators talking about some interviews that they did, both Andrew and and they will not say it's the end officially. They won't say there's a season 2 and they won't say it's the end.
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, they're doing this skipping around the subject type answers, and it's in a couple articles. I guess they did those interviews after the finale aired. Now, I kind of think, AMC is going to do what AMC is trying to do, which is make money.
Right.
And they know this was a successful show. And
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm not saying they're gonna do it, but I think they're probably exploring it, and they're probably gonna see how much it would take to convince them to do another season.
Yeah. I mean,
So, yeah,
it might, honestly, I think they should just let this go. Because again, they're not going to revive The Walking Dead.
right.
But we do have Dead City. So, and I know you're not a big fan of it, but Alexandria is not that far from Hilltop. So Rick and Michonne could show back up and confront Maggie.
They could. They absolutely could, and I wouldn't be against them having cameos in other places,
Right.
right? I'm
You know,
cool with it. I would love to see them show up once in a while.
right. We don't have to have an entire show dedicated to these two at this point. Because again, we have Daryl Dixon and we have um, Dead City. And either one of those shows, Rick can be, again, the voice on the radio. Or Michonne could, run into Carol. I found him. Something. They could do different things where the show isn't dependent on them being there. And
Mhm.
we're, again, not going back to The Walking Dead with all those characters because there's no way they're going to get all those mainline characters back. Now they might get a cameos here and there like we had with Father Gabriel.
I know, but if that's the case, why not just say this is the end of this story? Why do that? Why play that game? It's annoying. Just say this is the end of this story. You don't have to
Well,
say we'll never see the characters again.
I think they're, I don't know, trying to boost maybe the viewing numbers for
I think they're
Daryl Dixon
playing
coming up.
games. They're playing games and they're hoping and making us all hope and pray we'll see them on another show, hoping that's going to boost other numbers in other places. I think they're just really playing games with the audience.
Yeah, because
um,
again, I don't see where this show can go at this point.
yeah, I
The Ones
agree.
Who Live was a very specific arc, you know, and it's one that they we've all been wondering about for years, ever since Michonne left.
Yeah, this has been dragging forever,
Yeah,
and we
and
finally get it.
and we got our show, and it was great. This was a great season, and he came home. That was the whole point, and the threat of the CRM has been hanging over every single show everywhere in the Walking Dead universe is now no longer a threat. And, which means at some point, the CRM can show up again in Dead City. They can show up in France. Um, they could, we could have a cameo down there at the, at Padre.
But this might explain why the CRM has not come to Manhattan and wiped them out. Because if this happened, then they're no longer just killing off cities.
Right.
So the directive has changed. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see how they play it.
Yeah.
But before we continue on, I do want to address the comments right now. So both two people, Real in Love in It and Caesar, are discussing RJ. Poor RJ and
Oh, poor RJ.
his horrible lines.
They're
And
not lying.
uh,
But
uh,
I'm
it's
gonna
a
say
drag.
this though. Every time we've ever seen RJ anywhere doing anything, okay, it's just been kind of listless.
Yeah.
And this has been RJ since we first saw him on the show. So um I'm not gonna lie and say that I was shocked. I mean, honestly, I'm like, yeah, that's RJ.
Okay,
You
though,
know,
but didn't we call out his horrible acting before?
we have.
So this is not the first time, but this is the first time the poor kid has actually got some lines.
Yeah, I know. Well, and
And
you and I had discussed, in The Walking Dead, maybe he just, we don't really know anything about this kid. Maybe he just needs some lines. No, I
no,
don't think that's what he needs. You know,
no.
he needs some acting classes.
Yes, he does. He definitely does. I feel bad. I want to like the little kid. Like, get better, please.
Yeah, I mean, he's a cute little kid. Don't get me wrong, but he's never really said a whole lot of anything on this show ever.
No,
I think as far as dialogue goes, I'm going to say the entire time that he was on The Walking Dead, they probably gave him 30 words.
if that, yeah.
Yeah, and I am talking the entire time they showed him on the screen. Maybe 30 words. Maybe.
He just sits there, looks cute, nods his head, follows Judith
Yeah.
around, and that's it basically. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I feel bad for him a little bit, but it is what it is, you know? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. I mean, even when they were, when Daryl had him in the apartment there, in that little crappy apartment when they were in the Commonwealth, he was just sitting there with his comic books and coloring, and it was like, hey, and that was the sum total of his lines.
I know. And honestly, like, no shade, but I feel like some young boys, that's how they are. Like, my nephew, I mean, it's like pulling teeth to get him to say more than 10 words in a sentence. It's like, dude, don't you have something to say? So that's why I didn't try to take it too seriously at first. And plus, the actor was really young at the time. So I kind of let it go. But now it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I have a son that used to say wouldn't say shit if he had it in his mouth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and as RJ was kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
He followed his little sister or his big sister around, and he just did whatever she told him to. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is RJ's entire character arc. And I was really hoping that they would do something more with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had Judith, who was just this badass little girl that, she had a sword and had a gun and was out there killing walkers. And at the same age that she was out doing that, he's sitting there with his comic books coloring.
Look, she's
You know,
acting like the epitome of a firstborn child. In charge, responsible, gotta take care of the little sibling, killing things and take, whatever. That's just like her character. I mean, I don't know. I just think they did really good with picking Judith, that actress for Judith.
oh
And
yeah.
they could have, I think they wanted RJ to look a certain way so badly that they were like, he looks the way we think he should look.
Hmm.
So we're going to just not give him any lines and hope it works out.
Yeah, and I'm kind of beginning to wonder that myself.
Hmm.
Because it makes sense.
Yeah. So
So I don't know,
anyway,
but again, even the cheesy lines aside, I did like the fact that you and I had talked about this many times. We want that ending with Rick and Michonne and Judith and RJ, and to have that moment. Um, and they got it. We got it.
yeah.
So that was that was our payoff ever since the bridge exploded.
Yeah, and I think all the diehard Rashone fans, quote unquote, are happy with it.
Yeah.
I think most of us are happy. I think, yeah, there are some creators and some watchers that had a lot of criticisms, and that's fine because nothing's perfect. I think had, you know, Denai written this episode, it would have been a lot better, but she didn't write this episode. So we get what we get, right? That's it. But I liked it. I think I do, if I had another criticism, I think that Beale wasn't as big as a villain as I wanted him to be.
Yeah, I mean, he Beale really wasn't a bad guy. He wasn't a villain like, the governor, or, like Negan was. This was a man who really was trying to save the human race. So, in
Yeah.
his own mind, he wasn't a bad guy. And he didn't think, he knew that he was doing bad things, but he was convincing himself it was okay because it was for a greater purpose.
Okay, but did we think
You know,
Shane was a villain?
Shane?
Yeah, because the actor kind of said, hey, Rick is thinking about how he's similar to Shane in his
Yeah.
approach, right?
I never really looked at Shane as a bad guy.
Mhm.
I looked at him as a jealous, possessive guy.
Mhm.
And honestly, I really think that um if Rick hadn't to come back, Shane would have fulfilled Rick's role. It was Rick coming back that sent him off in a dark place, because and even though it was only a couple of weeks after the fall of civilization, Shane had it already. He had now had a wife and a kid, and so on and so forth. He was set. You know.
Yeah, but he was always gonna be the weak. We can't have them. We can't help
Hmm.
them.
Right.
That was just his MO, and it wouldn't have mattered if Wick was there or not. Their group
True.
wouldn't have grown like it did if Shane were there and not Rick.
But I also, I mean, given enough time, I think he would have grown. Then again, he might have grown into Negan.
He
So,
could have. He could have. You never know. I don't know. And I know the CRM, quote unquote, the secretive part of it, I guess, was supposed to be the villain, but it just didn't hit quite the way I think they wanted it to. I think, yeah, they saved Portland, right? They saved Portland and they got home. Eh, that's it. End of story. That was the most important thing. But I don't know. There could have been a little something extra. And Pearl Thorne's character, I think we were being played with a little bit with her as well. I think originally they were trying to make her a villain.
hmm
And then when Rick showed up, it seemed like they were friendly again, right? Hey, you're back. It seemed
right.
like, but Rick was like bald faced lying to her face.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then in the end, what did she do? She's like, oh, you're right. Beale was wrong. Here's my helmet. And then she lays down and dies, basically.
Well, a lot of hers was, again, the whole thing is she had desperately tried so hard to get back to her love, and then
She
she
did.
gave up.
She did.
And everything the CRM has been training these guys for is that love is for the next generation. It's not for us. Everything we do is, it's not for us, it's for them.
Mhm.
So we don't get to have our families. We don't get to have, the happy endings. We're doing the dirty work. So at least in that respect, they were upfront with the people. They weren't ever, none of them were offered the happily ever after. And even Jada said the same thing. This isn't, this is for the bigger picture. This is for those who come next.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that they sincerely believed that. And that's why they did a lot of the really horrible things they did, because human beings will do terrible things if they think it's for a greater or noble purpose.
Yeah, which I think and I think Beale did a good job of explaining what his goal was with that and why he was doing it with the whole 14 years,
Mm-hmm.
the 14-year countdown essentially. But what didn't happen was, well, if we take out Portland and if we kill all these other people and we save the resources for ourselves, that extends our life by X. That
Right.
extends our generations by X amount of or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So we got one part, but not the other.
Yeah. Well, it's this. Beale's assumption was is if they wiped out everyone else, there would be no other competition for resources.
Mm-hmm.
And while the dead would be walking around, they don't give a shit about, growing corn or anything. So if they could, my guess is their plan was to keep the population small, but sustainable. So if you have around 20 to 30,000 people, you can have a small but sustainable society
Mm-hmm.
with enough, technically with enough diversity not to, get into, you know, too much inbreeding.
Right.
And
That would be awful.
yeah, um, technically you only need about 2,000, but things get a little wonky at those low numbers. But 20, 30,000 people, if you can keep the population from growing much beyond that, um, and God knows if considering how ruthless they could be, I'm pretty sure they would keep those numbers right about 20, 30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And if they kept them contained within walls, then yeah, they could probably go on for a really long time just by living within their walls
Right.
and then not having to worry about anyone else, you know, tactically attacking them
But
would
they have
extend.
connections all around the world, he said, right?
Hmm.
So now they're trying to not just kill people in America, they're trying to just take out all the other people,
Yeah,
even though what's happening in Europe does not have a direct effect on what's happening in the United States because it's not like you're trading with them.
right.
It's
Yeah. I
weird.
mean, I'm not saying it's not I mean, it was a plan. It was
Mhm.
certainly a plan. And if the only point was to make sure that the human race continues to survive, it was technically a workable plan. Um, by taking out all the other competition for resources, all of the other competition for everything else, then yeah, I mean, at that point they have nothing to worry about but the dead because they can take what they need from everywhere else.
Which also there's now more dead thanks to this bomb, but he pretty much said, hey, there's a lot of walkers out there still.
Hmm.
There's huge amounts of them, which we have said over the years. How many can there be? They're still everywhere. Apparently, yes.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Well, you and I have talked about this too. Especially when you get into the hotter climates. How are these I mean, really towards the equator? Can they really have that many zombies? Um,
Mm.
just
Mhm.
because flesh falling off the bone, they're rotting. You know,
Yeah, they would be, yeah. Mhm.
and then you get up to more northern climates. And up, the upper echelons of Canada, and Russia, where there aren't a lot of people to begin with. But I can't imagine, and we've seen on The Walking Dead during the winter that the dead just kind of freeze where they are.
Mhm.
You get up, you get it up north enough, and it's a month or two, 3 months of summer, and then the rest of the time it's snow and cold.
Right.
So in these two extremes, there probably aren't that many, but it's the middle ground where you have to worry.
The middle. Yeah, that makes sense because it's not too, like you said, there's no extremes. They're just, and as people die, they're also turning. So they're just
Right.
adding. Ugh, it's a mess. I guess. Okay, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll take it. I'll accept it. It's fine. um.
and
Okay.
and
What
again,
else?
I'm not, it doesn't have to be a good plan to be a plan. Yeah,
Mm.
there are many bad plans that have been put into place over the course of human history. You know,
Oh, this is an interesting number. someone in the audience said, real and loving it said, I read somewhere that there are 5,000 walkers per live human. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and I think actually this has opened up more possibility and storylines for other shows.
Right. And again, like I said, it's not that we can't, we could have another series about where the CRM Republic is going. And they could even have little one-off anthologies where they send people out to meet with these new groups, which would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, they just because the CRM is no longer the bad guy doesn't mean that there aren't stories to be told.
True.
I really hope they don't bring back those awful kids from the world beyond.
Oh, they won't. They're gone.
Um,
Everyone hated them so much. But I think, because in this episode, Rick did not tell Michonne about the 14-year thing. He didn't say it to
mhm.
her. But eventually, he tells her everything. So I think that's going to open up for the world at large to address that issue. It's going to become more of a world, I don't know, a United States thing at the minimum,
Right.
versus just let's just get by with our little group thing.
Well, and again, there's that 14 years is a powerful number, and Beale decided on one venue, which was we're just going to kill everyone so that we can be the sole survivors. The other flip side of that is we tell everyone, because now it's not just a matter of personal survival. It's a matter of humanity survival. And if you guys keep going to war with each other in your little groups and killing each other off for, a Snickers bar, we are not going to survive.
No, and I kind of was hoping that there would be some kind of cure talk, but there wasn't.
No, as a matter of fact, he addressed that. Oh, we gave him some people for research and stuff, and nothing's really come of it. Maybe it might, but nothing really has. The
See, and
closest
that's
we got.
where I thought that they learned about how that acid bomb would make them slow or from turning or something.
Yeah.
But all those people turn so fast, though.
And we've also got there at the end of World Beyond. They were working on that fungus thing. Remember that? That was
Yeah.
one of the and apparently they came across something that was unique that could possibly not stop the virus but stop the walkers.
Hmm.
So honestly, if
Okay.
they could find something to release that wouldn't hurt humans but would dissolve the walkers, that would be, ideal.
That would be ideal. But then what would it take to filter out that everyone is sick with it? Everyone turns into that when they die. Like how would
Well,
that?
yeah. Oh, I get that. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it was I just remember them being in the lab. No, we have to, we found this thing. So, and it was an awful show, and I don't retain any of the details of it, except for that they had found something that might work on the walkers to potentially make them dissolve, slow them down. It's not a cure. It wasn't a cure,
Mhm.
but it was a way to perhaps get rid of some of the zombies.
Yeah, and I remember they were trying to see if they could stop someone from turning
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, not like revert them, but just stop them from turning or slow down the turning.
Right. So, I
Oh,
mean, if
yeah.
they could find something that could dissolve the walkers, they could just go, because there's a lot of wide open spaces right now, and they've got helicopters. They could always just drop it.
Well, we know they're good at dropping things on people anyway, so they could.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is right in their wheelhouse. This
Mhm.
now they're just dropping it on the dead.
Right.
I mean, personally, I don't know why they just don't drop huge vats of lye on them, but that's just me.
Wow. I mean, honestly, that's one thing that I think I appreciate the show doing is that they kind of caught us up to the timeline. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of addressed some of the questions, but also opened up other questions, which leaves more room for the world to grow at large. And I honestly would not be against, people have been saying like this whole like superhero type reunion, you know, how they do Avenger style, everyone kind of shows up.
Uh-huh.
I would not mind that honestly at some point in the future. And I even heard like last year, I think it was, I heard some people murmuring about like maybe the whole Walking Dead will come back together again into one show. Like after these spin-offs are finished doing what they're doing, they might come back together.
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It would have a new name, obviously. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
called the original name, but
I will say this. So, as I'm sitting here thinking, because over in Manhattan, we've got the biofuel, the dead people biofuel,
mhm,
and it, as far as we can see, is pretty effective.
mhm.
If the CRM is now working for good, and they can get a hold of that technology, and that takes care of some of the problems with the dead. We'll just put them in vats, to power our cities.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah. So at that point, the dead become more of a resource than a something to be scared of. I mean, more, because people that have lived outside, like Michonne and Rick and the people in Alexandria and stuff, um, at this point, the dead is really more of an annoyance than anything else. Until they gather in big herds, but then again, a lot of the people in Alexandria know how to turn the herds now too, because of the
Yeah, they do.
whispers.
Right, they do. And, you know, other people know how to do it as well. They're not unique in that way,
Right.
I'm sure.
So I mean, if we could gather, we could have the walker herders, that's their job, and to herd the walkers into certain places and dump them into vats, you know that, that would solve a lot of problems.
Everyone would have power. We're all good. Yay.
Yeah,
We can grow stuff. We can grow more food and do this and do that. Right.
yeah.
Hmm.
Because the thing of it is a lot of these little groups, that we've been following, they all have figured out some unique ways to deal with the dead, and either using them as a resource or how to control them or whatever. And the biggest problem has just been communication. So what's learned in one area is kept in one area.
Mhm.
So with the CRM now being on the side of the good guys, communication is going to be less of an issue.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing the CRM show up in these other shows in a different capacity. Like everyone won't be fearful of them. They're just gonna
Mm-hmm.
show up for aid or making plans or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, they're going to
I
be
I don't know.
absolutely giddy when they see the cargo hold from Padre. Sorry. The Padre play can finally be put into place.
I guess they could come and take those resources and help distribute them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they've got the helicopters to pick those containers up and move them around.
they sure do. See,
Yeah,
look at that.
yeah, you
Hmm.
know.
All right. Anything else in this episode we should cover? I know we didn't cover everything, but anything else stand out to you?
I really the moment when Rick was sitting there with Beale, what's the worst thing that you ever had to do?
Mhm.
And I got to tell you, before he even settled on that memory, I thought, oh, him biting the neck of that one guy.
That's funny. So you already had it in your brain. That was the problem. That was the
Yeah.
thing.
Oh,
Okay.
what? I mean, going back through all of the things Rick has done, he's done some awful things. Don't get me wrong. Okay. But him lunging up and tearing that guy's throat out with his teeth,
That was pretty nasty.
yeah,
That was pretty bad.
yeah, I remember us talking about giving that one a good deal of attention. Oh my God. So when he settled on that one, I'm like, by God, right.
Yeah, that was pretty awful. Yeah, that ranks high on the list, if not the highest, definitely.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, he traumatized himself probably doing that shit. Like, really? Ugh.
Well, if you remember, Rick was not right in the head for the rest of that season.
Right.
he was not. And I don't blame him. He ripped a guy's throat out with his teeth, you know?
Look, let's not even get into if that's actually possible.
It's possible.
Ugh. Oh my god.
I'm not saying it would be my first choice on any occasion, you
Hmm.
know.
So
But
Rick left that hand thing. It's
mm-hmm.
weird. I would keep it. It's a weapon. Does he think there's no more fighting gonna need to be done?
I think he wanted to make a clean break.
I get that, but don't be stupid.
I know. Don't be.
I
Well,
get
I
it.
mean,
Where are you
then
gonna get that
again,
check?
we can go back. You know, he can get back to Alexander. He can have him make him another hand. It's not like they haven't done it before.
Yeah, he can get a big clunky one
This is true.
instead of one that's,
Sleek.
useful and not 10 pounds like the one
True.
Aaron has.
So,
I don't know. I
but
guess.
I'm sure for him too, though, that hand was also a symbol of his imprisonment.
It definitely was. I still would have brought it and I'd go to therapy and try to get over it. I don't know. I don't know. With time, things heal. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. We'll see what he's sporting the next time we see his character.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know. I can't see them doing another season of this, but I can see them teasing us along to
Mhm.
to garner some more attention. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they showed up or Rick showed up over at Hilltop at some point.
I mean, absolutely. I'm sure, they've got to catch them both of them up with what's been going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll see them over there or at the Commonwealth or someplace. They're going to show up someplace.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
Um,
and we still, and we have the Book of Carol coming up.
but that's going to
So
be in Europe again. It's going to be in France.
right, that's
So
going to be in France, but eventually Norman Reedus will make his way back to the U.S. You know,
I am like
so
I don't know. I am not excited for this Book of Carol situation. I don't know. I'm trying to remain as neutral as I can about it. But
the thing of it is I've always liked Carol's character,
I know.
and
I liked her too. I like her too. You know that, but I'm
I
like,
know.
we after seeing a whole season without her and seeing what this look could look like without her, kind of like there, and
Hmm.
just to see what I don't know. I'm just curious to see what it's going to look like once they come together. Are they going to deviate from the current story? Are they going to just go a different direction? So many things are out there. And I just, after seeing what this show could do with the writing, I just know that other show will never ever meet that bar. The bar has been placed really high,
Right.
and these other writers aren't able to pull it off. Well, they haven't yet.
I don't know.
So
Maybe hopefully they've taken some inspiration from this show.
no, they're done with it already, aren't they?
Well, I
Done?
know, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
yeah. Nah, it's gonna not gonna be what we think. But again, I do like Carol like you, so maybe it'll be fine. Maybe it'll be fine after all, because that's what this summer, right?
Hmm. That's the next one coming.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly when. They haven't officially announced when, but I guess from rumors or June.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's it for us then. I guess that's it for now. What do you think, Lisa?
I think we're done
Yeah, we're
for
done. So we
now.
are done with this show until the summer. Wow,
Hmm.
that's gonna be a long break.
I know. Will you guys miss us?
You know what? I'm thinking about maybe doing what do you call it? Show. Oh, it's on
Wow.
the tip of my tongue. Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
But if you guys want to make sure you're here when we're back, be sure to hit that subscribe button, share this with your other TWDU fans. And yeah, have a great spring and early summer. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Bye, guys.
Bye bye.